listening to the Parts Pros podcast, the only podcast made specifically for automotive parts professionals. We're here to dive into the latest industry trends, expert strategies, and real world solutions to drive success and boost your parts department bottom line. Hi, I'm your host. I'm Amanda Poe. I'm an automotive marketing expert with more than a decade of experience helping dealerships drive growth in the ever evolving digital landscape. I'm joined here today by Emily from Revolution Parts. Revolution Parts is our official e-commerce sponsor, and Emily is an e-commerce guru with more than 5 years of hands-on experience working with both OEM and aftermarket parts industry leaders. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for the great introduction. I'm excited for our very special guest today.
Our very special guest today, Mr. Ron Overs. Ron is joining us from FixedOps magazine. He is the publisher over there at FixedOps magazine and has been in the automotive industry for over 30 years. So he's got a few years of experience underneath his belt within this industry. He's worked directly with FixedOps leaders, owned his own business, and now works with FixedOps magazine to educate dealers on what is happening in the FixedOps industry today. Ron, welcome.
Hey, Amanda, thank you so much. This should be a great time together.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you here. Share with the audience a little bit about yourself and your experience, and maybe tell us about that business that you owned.
Yeah, well, we'll back up to that and say, many, many years ago, I was involved with a company called Wins, who sold all kinds of additives for cars and things like that. So I had an opportunity at the time to talk with all types of service departments across my territory and grow it. At one point, I had 12 representatives in the field, and we had a great business going in that particular industry. It's fun to then move on to some other things that I did. I got involved with service contract, lifetime warranties, all kinds of different products, and eventually migrated into this space, which is involved with the fixed operations and actually working with parts, service, and body shops to make sure that we really can find the best practices for dealers. So this has really been an exciting time to really take all the things I've done in my career and kind of blend them all together now in fixed operations.
So what you're telling us, Ron, is you are an expert in dealer add-ons.
You know what? I surround myself with experts and I learn from them every day. So that's the cool part about being an expert. What you really need to do is just put a cloud of people around you that really know their stuff and then be able to lean on them for the most up-to-date current answers on how to solve problems.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, Ron. So I keep hearing this phrase, 2025 is the year of the parts department. So I'm wondering, how can dealerships drive customer retention through parts this year?
Great question, because really that's the goal today is the retention of a customer, right? Once a customer defects and starts going somewhere else for their service, they probably are going to go somewhere else for their next car buy too. So you really want to keep them in your family, keep them within your dealership and make all that happen. And how you do that is by taking care of their needs. And that's first and foremost, make sure that you have the service ability and the parts, in stock to be able to take care of that. So managing parts or being able to source parts across the country is really, really important so that you can keep your customers happy today. The last thing they want to do is go shopping around for another dealership because you can't seem to get their repair done for them quickly.
My local dealership has this 3 synthetic oil changes for $160. So, I got sucked into that as soon as I moved to my neighborhood. Obviously, service is all about retention. But most recently, when I got my oil change, I walked into the parts department and said, hey, I need a new battery for my Tacoma key. The parts advisor just pointed to the showroom and said, why don't you go buy a new Tacoma then? And I just thought that was such a funny thing to say. He said it jokingly, but just to kind of have hear that sales-minded attitude coming from behind the parts counter was a little bit funny and shocking and pretty cool. So, customer retention happens in every department of the dealership.
And customers are keeping their cars longer and longer, right? The average new car's out in the field today for over 12 years. All right. So, it's out there a long time. And, the whole concept of, why don't you just go buy a new one? Well, the new ones cost $1,200 a month. Okay. I don't have $1,200 a month, but I can afford $300-400 for a new battery if that's what it needs. Let's get that done and keep me on the road. More and more customers are looking at it and saying, I can't afford to do that 3 or 4 year turn on a car. I've got to keep it 5, 6, 7 years. And with that means they're going to be out of warranty and they're going to be looking for repairs, and customer pay repair is going to be a big deal. And you really need to be able to take care of them.
You know, Ron, you mentioned a really interesting topic there about cars getting older and older. I don't know about you, but I just think back to 10 years ago. I remember I was writing ads because I'm on the marketing side of the business, and I was writing ads for a Toyota dealership 10 years ago, encouraging people to trade in their 2-year-old vehicle. And we said, you know, bring in your vehicle that was 2 model years newer or 2 model years older, and you can trade in that vehicle for this model year and keep your payment exactly the same. And that was the big selling point. And man, they did great. They're in San Antonio, so they had a really large market. They did great and sold a ton of cars on that selling point. Today, I think trading in a 2-year-old vehicle, as long as it's not a lease, if it's a vehicle you actually purchased, is absolutely unheard of.
It really is. When you think about the depreciation cycle on a car, right? 3-year depreciation, let's just use some really flat round numbers, 50%. Okay. And, yes, some are 60, some are 40. Okay. But the reality is it's a lot of money, right? With the average price of cars going up and up and up, you take a $40,000 car and if it's depreciated 50%, well, it's cost you $20,000. Well, you can't absorb that in 2 years. You need to have more years under your belt before that makes sense. And for most people, so that's really why it is so important today to just keep that customer in your family by taking care of their needs and having all those services needed for them right there at your store.
That's
Well, I think
all.
it's depreciation, but I think in addition to depreciation, it's also interest rates, right? That's a lot of people are staying in their vehicles because of interest rates. I personally would love to upgrade my car right now, but I bought my car in 2021 when interest rates were 2%. So I paid 2% interest for that car. And anybody in this industry knows nobody's getting 2%. It doesn't matter how good your debt to income ratio is, what your credit score is, nobody's getting 2%. And so people are looking at interest rates and they're looking at the cost of new vehicles and they're looking at the cost of trading their vehicles in. And they're oftentimes making the decision to not just repair, but also upgrade their current vehicles instead of trading them in. They're saying, I want to make this vehicle the vehicle that I want. So I'm going to do some upgrades to this vehicle, new wheels, new tires, a lift, add remote start, all those things. I'm going to add those to my car because I'm stuck in this thing at least until the end of 2025 because of these interest rates.
And you're right, it makes great sense. So you're right, it comes right down to what's that monthly payment for the car. And like I said, when you're looking at 8% loan versus a 2% loan, it's pretty dramatically different. When you start going through the numbers. So yeah, you're doing the right thing, and that's what people want to do: accessorize, make their car personal, make it fun, and enjoy driving it, and make it part of their personality.
All the more reason to invest in, the fixed side of your business. So,
Well,
what do you think are the biggest opportunities for parts departments in the second half of 2025?
Well, not to sound like a advertisement for Revolution Parts, but I mean the reality is um, growth outside of your store is huge, right? The opportunity outside of your store is even larger than what you have right in your service space. And coming up with a coordinated plan to say, you know what, this next quarter, let's set a goal to sell this amount of parts outside of our store, and let's find the process to get that going. Don't shoot for perfection, shoot for improvement over what you did the previous quarter, and find those incremental growth opportunities that exist out there that you may not have known were even there. And from there, continue to grow. And then obviously, secondly, find out what parts you're going to forecast need into your store, and start purchasing those parts so that you can take care of your current dealer customers at your dealership very quickly and make it all work. So yeah, I think that's the next big growth for parts, is utilizing people like yourself to get outside your box and start selling to the big world that's out there.
Well, and we talk to a lot of parts managers and parts directors that they say, I'm a one-person parts department. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. This is selling online is a huge process that takes way too long and way too much effort that I just am not willing to put forth. What would your response be to people who say that, coming from your perspective of 30 years in this industry and seeing evolution and growth? How would you respond to somebody that says, I'm not willing to put forth the time or the effort?
Yeah, and the answer really comes down to almost every parts department started off with one person at the counter, okay, and three technicians in the shop, and next thing you know, and what you need to do is just take a small component of your time and then partner with people and companies that can help you. You're not going to go to your owner and say, I need three more people in the parts department, but you can go to your ownership and say, I want to become partners with a company like Revolution Parts, and they're going to help me get the process started. So you're going to go to someone, a trusted resource, and say, I want to get started in this, and I don't care if I sell $1 next quarter. That's my goal. I want to get on the map of selling something outside my store. And you're going to start growing and growing. And then because the return on that investment is going to be good, it's easy to go back and say, hey, now I do need someone to manage this and make this work. I can show that I can create enough revenue from this to make it worth my time. There'll always be someone to tell you, you know what, it's not worth my time. And it's like, with that attitude, you're right, it's not. Okay, but here's the reality. It is worth your time. There are people selling millions of dollars worth of parts online, and you need to do this by starting off by selling $1 worth of parts online and get moving. The business is there. You've got to go and get it.
It's really funny that you mentioned that, finding the right partner, because we, as dealership employees, we don't clean our own bathrooms. We don't stock our own vending machines. Oftentimes we don't wash our own uniforms. We don't mop the floors in the service drive ourselves a lot of the time, but we're totally resistant to outsourcing things like, your e-commerce partnerships. We will outsource basically every other portion of the dealership. Many dealerships outsourcing things like bookkeeping, which are essential services to your dealership, your payment services, your payment processing. You're willing to outsource basically everything, but you're not willing to outsource your e-commerce efforts in order to be able to be online and to sell to additional people. Instead, you just want to make excuses about, you're a one-person parts department. You can't do it yourself. Well, you outsource everything else. Why not outsource this to somebody who knows what they're doing, has years, decades of experience, and more than 2,000 dealers that they're already doing it for, right?
That's the answer. Find trusted partners. And that's the key with our magazine, right? Just just an advertisement for our free magazine. Okay, it's not too expensive. You just got to go online, fixedopsmag.com, sign up, and it's yours. The reality is we just bring you trusted partners. And Revolution Parts has been a partner with us for years because they're a trusted resource. Like you said, over 2,000 dealers already doing it. There's 16,000 dealers out there, right? 16,957 is the secret number. All right, so you've got 2,000, you got 14,000 more to go. Let's get going, guys. The reality is that's what you need to grow business today. You don't have to hire your own people. You've got to hire companies that will work with you and help you get the results you need right away. Makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Well, that brings me to my final question for you. As the publisher of FixedOps magazine, you've probably seen a lot of great advice shared so far this year. What's some of the best, most actionable advice that you've received that you think would be really great for parts managers and parts directors going into the rest of 2025?
I think that what I hear a lot is just to review the last couple quarters that you've done business, look at the segment where your business is coming from, and then figure out how the next 2 quarters, not next year, not 2 quarters from now, but starting today and moving forward, how can I start to grow my business in a new way that I haven't done before? How can I do a better job in that way? And usually it comes down to things like we just finished talking about, and that is partner with successful companies that have a roadmap already in place that make it easy for you to grow your business. Don't try to do it yourself. Don't try to figure it out yourself. You may be able to do it, but you're not going to do it better than someone who's already been involved in that business for years. So like that would be my counsel to them, is to say, find a trusted partner and make it happen. That's what we find in all, like you said, people outsource all kinds of the businesses of the car dealership. This is one that's really probably beyond you to do it just yourself. You're not going to just go to eBay and start selling parts yourself. You need to find someone to help you get that done and make that all happen. So that would be my advice to them. Find a trusted partner like Revolution Parts and go get it done.
I love that. That's excellent advice. Let me give a couple plugs to some of the companies that we work with that we absolutely love and we think are great, trusted partners. First of all, FixedOps Magazine. I think if you head to fixedopsmag.com, you can find a list of all of Ron's trusted partners and the companies that he recommends. And then another company that you see from Revolution Parts all the time is FixedOps Roundtable. Ted Ings and the whole family over there at FixedOps Roundtable, they have a ton of businesses that they work with that specifically serve the fixed ops industry and can make amazing recommendations for companies in just about every sector of the fixed ops world.
Absolutely. And Ted and I work together all the time. So Ted Ings, he does kind of a lot of the online things. We do a lot of the print media. We work together. And really I bet we talk 2 or 3 times a week about who are trusted partners in this business. Your name comes up all the time as one of the great ones.
Well, that is good to hear. So those are the websites you need to know. Fixed Ops Mag, Fixed Ops Roundtable, Revolution Parts, and of course, partspros.com. Partspros.podcast.com. I'm sorry. That's all for this episode of the Parts Pros. Thank you for tuning in. For more information on the Parts Pros and our official e-commerce sponsor, Revolution Parts, visit partsprospodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, or partsprospodcast.com or wherever you catch your latest episode so you don't miss our next episode. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.